for having Jesus lead us this evening. Okay, so we will quickly, I would want to just give us an idea of what we'll be doing today as we set our minds to learning. We've said the opening prayer. We'll do a little recap on what God has helped us to learn between Monday and yesterday. And then I'll be inviting Coach Uko to invite us into today's session. And then shortly, I'll be bringing in Mr. Baranzan Luka to give us a 10 minutes talk briefly before we'll be inviting Mr. Onoviran to move us forward. Then I'll be bringing Mr. Luka again for a book review, and then we'll see how we move in from there. Okay, so day 1 and 2, we listened to our coach, Mr. Uko. He spoke on connection is love. And then he equally took us on understanding the culture of teenagehood, which was supposed to have been taken by Pastor Umoru. Mr. Uko had explained on how vocal these teenagers are and how deliberate we must be in getting involved in their lives without being in their faces. He spoke on the fact that we should recognize that they have a voice and allow for them to speak out, encourage them to speak out. It's through that we'll be able to guide them, be able to counsel them, and be able to impact them. We talked on the use of social media on day 2. We spoke on how knowledgeable these teenagers are in using the internet and how vulnerable they are if we don't give them the guidance they require. And therefore, we're encouraged, we're advised to be deliberate in being part of their lives by sharing in their social media life. We cannot pretend that they don't know these things. We cannot assume that because we've not provided them the platform that they don't know. They have their ways of learning these things, either from us or through other means. And therefore, it is very important that we are deliberate in making sure that whatever they are learning, we are part of it so we can be able to guide them as we should, because the social media is a major tool in the teenagers' hands. And if we don't engage, it will harm them. So we talked with, on Wednesday, Pastor Bomai came on board. He spoke on how to bond with teenagers, and he explored various ways teens get information. He advised that we create time for teenagers. He advised that we lead them by example. He advised that we get involved in their lives. We should allow for them to make decisions as we decide alongside. We mentor them, and then he advised that we show them Jesus. Yesterday, Mommy Zina Obasi spoke on raising internationally responsible teens. She spoke on understanding what differentiates their generation and ours. She talked on their year range and the characteristics that defines their range. And then she talked on how raging their hormones are. She advised that we have to teach them to survive, to be independent as we guide them. She emphasized on the fact that parenting is intentional. It is not for the weak. And the need for parents to be very consistent and present and trusted in the lives of their teenagers. She said we must be close enough to hear them and far enough from their privacy. I didn't just want to bore us with everything. I just picked a few points to give us a recap on the things that God has been helping us to learn. So far, so good. So with that being said, tonight I would want to invite Coach Uko to welcome us in as we prepare to shortly listen to Mr. Luca, and then we'll pick up from there. Welcome, Coach Uko. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Patience Buba. That was a wonderful one. That was a great recap of all that we have done from Monday to yesterday. I really appreciate everyone of us for making our time, the sacrifices and the inputs. It's been awesome. It's been awesome. And I assure you tonight, it's not going to be any different. It's a build-up. Like I said earlier, they say bottom pot, now they switch fast. So today is the bottom pot. So get ready to be wowed into the Gen Z generation. These two gentlemen that are going to be speaking with us are people that I know they are tested. So you're going to really get real stuff. Now, before I invite Mr. Baranza Luca, he's been a friend over the years. In the course of my duty, we met and we became friends and brothers. Mr. Baranza is over a decade-old experience. He's an air personality and very dexterous at what he does. Mr. Luca is a regular voice on the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria 103.5 Equity FM during Kevin Network Center, from where he hosts regular programs. Permit me to also note that he is a senior producer with the 103.5 Equity FM. He's also a host of a number of programs on air. One of those days he took me on air. It wasn't easy, last minute questions here and there. He's actually good at what he does. His voice carries a large personality and obviously followership. This is truly because he is a researcher, an ideal parent enthusiast. He's a quiet but lovely family man and a lover of God. Without taking much of your time, please, friends, help me welcome Mr. Baranza Luca as he shares with us briefly on the Gen Z. Mr. Baranza, you have the floor.
Hey, Mr. Baranza, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Oh boy, my brother. I didn't know I had that big profile. Thank you very much. I am humbled, and to all of us in the house, sincerely, a great pleasure to have been with us from the inception of the Parenting Parliament group, then to Monday, and then Monday through to this day. It's really been wonderful, amazing, folks, and a great time. He said a short speech or a presentation. I would call it an interaction. You all, I can see we have about 10 of us in the house. I would want me to be practical with what I really am going to say, because my own subject area is parenting Gen Z, breaking the norm. If you look at from generations before us, let's take, for example, 4 generations before us. Let me use the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, and then the 1980s. You would understand that over time, trends as regards parenting children have metamorphosed, have changed. Our dear sister, Mrs. Zina, yesterday made mention of a particular way of cautioning children. She said back then, our signal for saying no to a thing from our parents was a gaze. There would be this stern look that would come from your mother or father. Mostly fathers were not into the stern look. It was a thunderous voice that came from the fathers. Whereas from the mothers, it was the look. She would look at you from angle 90 of her eye, probably the left or the right, depending on your sitting position, and then she winks once. If it's a severe situation, she winks twice. Depending on the gravity also, she could wink over and over again, and then you just know it's either you end that stuff and leave that place, or you just begin to apologize. And you don't do it in public also, so that people would not know. You know, there's always this thing, no matter how wrong you went, you were, parents didn't like the fact that others got involved in their matters. They love spanking you and dealing with you all by themselves, so that nobody will come to your rescue until you get it into your head. They used to say your empty score, you know, until you get it into your score that, yes, you don't have to break these laws and all these rules. So how do I intend to get practical? By stating that we need to break the norms. We mentioned over time from Monday on until today, or until yesterday, you know, that we have to be involved in grooming them. We have to try to engage them, whether in culinary skills or helping them read, and also from how much helping them study, please. And how much I've also been able to be privileged to read Uncle Uko's book, soon to be divulged. You know, he mentioned allowing them participate in not just doing house domestic chores, but allow them also be a part of the conversation you feel or think that is advanced or too advanced for their age. Areas like sex education, areas like ideal parenting, areas like spanking them and when you ought to really listen to them and not hit them. And I can remember, if not, even though not clearly anyway, but that Mrs. Stella Oboko said, if your kid is 17 or over and you still do not think of nothing but to spank that same kid or teen for doing something wrong, then you're a lazy parent. And Sister Zina said something again. She said, parenting is a big job that needs consciousness, that needs you to be deliberate, that needs you to be intentional, and that needs you to be committed. Now, to me, asking us to say we have to break the norm. All of these things have been said. I have nothing new to mention to you, but using a practical scenario, your child has been raped. Back in the day, you know that if a child is raped, the child is asked to keep quiet. The child is encouraged to manage his or her pain, because even the boy child also gets raped, you know, and all that. But times and things have evolved. But who are those amongst us here in this circle that are living in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s? Because the parents of the 80s, of which I know many of us are from the 70s and the 80s, are working assiduously to change the status quo. So who amongst us will have a child be raped and say the child should keep quiet and not have to speak about it or be allowed to express himself or herself over the misfortune? Now, the trend of breaking the norm. I would want to say, I would call on random persons who share a gist. Yes, in this era and time, you are a parent who converses, who engage your children. But I am painting a situation now, and I would like to call on Sister Caroline Orji. God forbid, this is just from top of my head, not that it's going to happen to you or I'm speaking into the future. No, but let's say a kid of yours, your child, your daughter or son was raped, regardless of the age, but we know the child can speak. How will you engage this child, and how would you work towards resolving trauma? Because most of the time that's what destroys the person, not even the act in itself. Sister Caroline Orji. Are you there, please? I have been given only the grace of 10 minutes. So you and I, and maybe any other person I would call on also would enjoy a few minutes of speaking. But please speak to us. How would you address this situation? Hello, Sister Caroline Oji. Okay, let me call on Sister Stella. Okay, Sister Stella Creppy. Sister Stella, please, if you would indulge me.
Hello.
Oh, okay. On.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear
Hello.
you. Yeah, Sister Caroline. I'll beg. Okay, Sister Stella.
All right. My speaker was muted. I just unmuted now.
Okay.
That was a very difficult one. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
All right. You say, how will I indulge, assuming it happens, God forbid it wouldn't happen, that a child is raped? Well, just like you said earlier, this issue of rape has been a matter that comes with stigmatization. And in our days, I could remember during my service day, a girl was raped, and immediately the parents asked for a redeployment from where we were, and that she shouldn't let people know about it. I believe that is not really the best approach, because it might still happen to her to wherever they are taking her to. First and foremost, after taking care of the child's mind should be made clean, disabused, and made to believe that it was no fault of her or him. Then, the child should also be taught how to do a sort of self-defense in case such issue would want to arise some other time. But sincerely, is a difficult one. I was just thinking, I've been thinking of the best approach to such. But I think one of the major things to do is to let that child know that that is not the end of life, and that he or she can still go on with life, even with what. Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I think the child should be let to know that whatever might have happened to the person is not the end of life, that he can still pick up the pieces of self together and move on and try as much as possible to avoid such in case there tries to be a reoccurrence. That's my one common suggestion. Thank you. Please, I'm in a mix. Hello? Hello?
Hello, she has finished speaking. There seems to be a break in transmission.
Mr. Luca, please.
Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Hello,
Mr.
Mr. Luca, are you
She's
there?
done. We can hear you. She's done. We are waiting.
All right. I can see someone hand up. Okay. Mr. Luca has called Auntie Stella. Please, can you give us how would
Hello.
you handle such a situation?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to this situation. So, in my opinion, I think the first thing to do if I find out that a child has been raped or molested will be to first of all check the child, take the child for a medical checkup to ensure that the child is okay medically, that whatever has happened to the child has not physically will not become a physical problem to the child in the near future. So we will do a check, ensure that the child hasn't picked up any sexually transmittable diseases or any such things, STIs. And then afterwards, it will be to speak to this child, like the first speaker has said, Madam Caroline, and reassure the child that whatever happened wasn't due to his or her fault, or they didn't attract it, or they didn't bring it on themselves. And then it will be a good thing also to ensure that this child sees a professional therapist that would guide the child and help the child to get over the trauma, so that the child will be able to express herself or himself very well with this person, and then the person would know how to guide them back to living their lives as normal as they possibly could after such an experience. So those are the things I think I would do if a child I know gets raped. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you very much. That was an awesome presentation and perspective coming from the angle of education and engagement. Mr. Anze, your hand has been up. You want to say something? Speaker is around, so that we'll just kick off.
Good evening, House. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Pascal Anibo, Mr. Pascal Anibo. I am very happy to be here in the meeting today. I just joined today. And from what I've heard so far, the program has started since Monday. But by God's grace, I know I will catch up. The topic is very, very important. Teenagers, children are very important to us. So based on the topic on ground, I think the very, very important thing that I would like to add to what the other two speakers have spoken, which is in line with my school of thoughts as well, is the fact that the child needs to know that he or she has some form of justice, because it will help to encourage that child. If the child knows that, okay, for this that I've gone through, there's going to be a form of reprimand to whoever has done this to me. It will give that child some kind of confidence to get that child back to normalcy. So I just want to add the area of ensuring that the child knows that he or she can get justice. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Pascal. That was a wonderful one. Mr. Luca, are you back?
Yes, I am. So sorry.
Please,
thank you. All right then. Mr. Pascal Nze, thank you very much for that contribution. All right, I will just wrap up very quickly so that the speaker of the day will take over the mantle, and then we see to it that we break the norm in trying to see that we reach our kids without having them live in a world of darkness without understanding the challenges that are there with. So various contributions. Teach them self-defense is key. It's not the end of life. That's actually also a thing you should teach the children. But I summarize, I just give it a different notion. I said, enlighten the child. And then Mrs. Stella Creppy said, after the experience, take the child out for medical examination and then therapy. These are key and important factors. But I mean, Nigeria is a society where we cannot entirely say we can avoid that from happening, even regardless of the fact that it happens across the world anyway. Nigeria, it's our local environment and our immediate community. But here is how you break the norm from having such things happen repeatedly or not even happen entirely. Communication. And this is what communication is all about. Communication helps build relationships by allowing us to share our experiences and needs. And it helps us to connect with our children, with our siblings, with whomever is under our care. So if you must break the norm of the yesteryears where things are done, I would say harshly, allow the energy of communicating with these persons who are your responsibilities to speak to you or to relate with you. And I can remember Uncle Joe said something, you have to be relatable and then you also have to be involved. You have to commend them. So in always being able to exchange or pass time or burn out time to relate with these kids to understand what they go through will go a long way to break certain challenges in this generation in which we are, as is called the Zoomers age. Because without information, without communication brings information. So without adequate information, I tell you what, these kids will just be out there to collect whatever they're able to see. And at the end of the day, that will invariably break them down or get to throw them into the dungeon, and you know the rest. So thank you very much, most sincerely, for contributing and being a part of this. And my session and time has come to an end. Uncle Joe, please, over to you.
All right, Mr. Luca, thank you very much for that wonderful time. You actually said it was going to be interactive, and it was. And I think that's your point of coming in has helped bring up salient points from everyone. At this point, I'll hand over the mic to Sister Patience Buba as she takes on the rest of the evening. Sister Patience.
Okay, so one of the exciting things about this week and learning is the fact that you get to learn a lot of things in a day, and then you feel, oh, I heard a lot today. And then by the next day, you are just hearing another thing, and then you're like, oh, okay, so today is so full. And then, okay, so I'm just so excited this evening listening to Mr. Luca. One of the things he said for me that is key is teaching teenagers self-defense. So we don't wait for the problem, we find a way to even avert it happening. Maybe with some level of self-defense, they could be able to fight back or to resist a rape. You never can tell. So I've picked that home. And, he equally mentioned communication. Growing up, our parents will just keep dictating. They tell you, do this, do that, do the yes. Whether it sits well with you, you have an opinion, you think of something. Even when you have a smarter way to do it, you wouldn't dare to want to suggest it because their words are yeah and amen. So daddy says it this way, it must be done this way. And mommy says it this way. So our parents didn't keep the communication line open to hear us. We would only listen to them, but they didn't make themselves available to hear us. And Mr. Luca mentioned communication this evening. I think it's key that we allow for our teenagers to reach out to speak to us. Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm so excited to be bringing up Mr. Orimisan Onoviran this evening. The first time that we spoke with Coach Uko on this group, and he advised that we invite people to join the group. Mr. Onoviran was the first person that came to mind. He's been one father that I have envied. He's been one father that I have learned a lot from. The first time he visited my home, I met him through my younger sister. He's friends with my younger sister. And he was just watching me with the boys. And he didn't waste time when they were not there to say, I think you should do this, that. And it was just, wow, like, oh, wow, this person has this thing about wanting for teenagers or for younger ones to be guided right. Mr. Onoviran Orimisan Onoviran is the branch manager of Zenith Bank PLC Kefi. His work with the banking sector has spanned a period of 20 years. He has worked in Sokoto, Kano, Kontagora, Jos, and now in Kefi. He is the executive director, High Repute Foundation. It's a youth empowerment NGO based in Jos. He has a strong affinity for teenage-related matters, which has seen him supporting teenage businesses, clubs, and associations. His interest in teenagers is largely behavioral, as he desires a teenager that is morally and emotionally sound and protected. I equally remember the first time he visited my home with his 16-year-old daughter, and then she just behaves like she was already like 25 or something. And I was like, how did this man do this? You know, you see him balance it with all of the care and the attention, and then you equally know that he's a strict disciplinarian. Okay, he is one that can be allowed to express. He is one person that can allow for teenagers to express themselves within the confines of respect and maturity. He desires to create a very healthy rapport between teenagers and the society where they can grow and flourish. Ladies and gentlemen, mothers and fathers, this evening, we are bringing up Mr. Orimisan Onoviran to speak to us on parenting the Gen Z in their peculiarities. Please, would you put your hands together as Mr. Onoviran takes the podium? You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I was like, when she was reading my citation, I was like, am I sure it's me that they're speaking about? Because when you hear these things, you don't know how far you've gone till you get read to you. Good evening, everybody. And first of all, let me start by saying that this week has been very, very enlightening. I have learned a lot, I have jotted a lot, and I want to commend all my speakers. In fact, they've made a shoe that will be difficult for me to fit in. But let me see how far I can go. They practically, from the beginning of this week till today, has been one thing I can say I'm taking away is parenting is hard work. Parenting Gen Z is hard work. Parenting in this generation is hard work. And I'm going to be as quick as possible so that I want this to be as interactive as possible so that if I say anything controversial, we hit it and then discuss it. Parenting the Gen Z youth in their peculiarities. We all admit that the Gen Z youth are a peculiar set of breeds. But before I go into that, let me start by quickly looking at the definition of a generation. What is a generation? A generation can be defined or described as the average period generally considered to be between 20 and 30 years, during which a child is born and grows to become an adult. It can also be defined as being a single step in the line originating from one ancestor. So we have two sets of definitions of the generation. One that has to do with an average period generally considered to be between 20 and 30 years. And that is the definition I want to talk about, because with this definition, I can go into the generations I want to talk about. I'll be clearly defining 5 generations, their year range, and their basic characteristics, so that we have some idea of how to understand the main generation we will be talking about. The first generation I'm going to describe they are called the baby boomers generation. This generation is also known as the silent generation. Their year range is between 1946, after the Second World War, to 1964. They are also called the baby boomer generation because it was after the World War. A lot of people had died, millions of people had died, and they were encouraged to repopulate the world. This generation witnessed high number of childbirths because they were encouraged to do so. One of the characteristics of this generation is they are largely conservative and traditional, very silent, to be seen and not be heard. They were a generation of myths and fairy tales where Mami Water was reigning and Obanje was reigning, and anything that happened did not have a scientifically based explanation was thrown into myths and cultures in that generation. Now, the next generation after the baby boomers, aka the silent generation, is the generation X. The year range of this generation is between 1965 and 1980. And most of us in this, I believe, talk today fall into this. We tend, because I also fall into this, so I'm going to use the we tend. We tend to be more conservative in our thinking and lifestyle. Our era was characterized by myths and stories from the silent generation. We could not challenge, we could not ask questions or challenge authorities. We are also described as resourceful, independent, and workaholics. And if you look at the trend of our generation, you see that most of us tend to want to provide so much for our family members that we work our bones to the core. We are more liberal than the baby boomers, but our generation lacked the access of information like the other generations I'll be talking about below. Yet our generation witnessed a lot of developments. In fact, we are one dynamic generation where we witness black and white television till today. We witness land phone where you have to turn the phone green till the cellular phone we had. We witnessed the crude 909, or is it 090 cellular phone, to the accessible phones we have today. We witnessed chalkboard where we was writing on the blackboard to the boards we have today. Yet our generation witnessed a lot of developments, and that kind of like shaped us because of the level of developments we have. We are an advanced form of the silent generation, in the sense that we are not as traditional as the silent generation. We are not as strict as the silent generation. We are not as insisting as the silent generation. We tend to be more moderate in our conservatism, more modern in our conservatism, and yet we have a level of culture in us as a result of the myths and traditions that were passed by the generation before us. The next generation I'm going to talk about again is Generation Y, aka the millennials. The age range of this generation is between 1981 to 1996. Some of us also fall in this group in the meeting we had here. They were born in the technology revolution 2, that's what I'll call it. The internet just started, color television took its place worldwide. The television remote started working. You know, in our days, our television remotes were big and ugly and attached to the TV by rope. But in their generation, the television remote started working properly. Cell phones were becoming a norm. CD replaced tapes and videos. Computers became the means of storing data instead of files and lockers. The electronic typewriter killed the manual typewriter. This is a generation of the new age. Some of us, like I said here, fall into this generation. Here, they also have a small field of Generation X and can relate to us well. Now, you see the millennials are in the middle between the Gen X and the Gen Z. But fortunately for us, they tend to relate with more of the Gen X than the Gen Z, in the sense that they were also used to the norms, the myths, the stories that our parents passed to us and we passed to them. So like I said, their age range between 1981 to 1996. The next generation I'm going to define is Generation Z. Gen Z, the people we are talking about, aka Millennials Pro Max. The year range of this generation is between 1997 to 2012. Most of our children fall into this group. Between 1997 to 2012. They are called the digitals. Huge advancement in technology and great access to information is the main characteristics of this generation. The TV became flatter, brighter, better, and bigger. Satellite TV took full swing. The world became a true global village. Information became easy to access. They are called the WWW generation and the social media generation. They are pragmatic, financially minded, very pro-technology, very opinionated. They are fearless, verbal, inquisitive, liberal, logical, and modern. They don't believe in myths and folk tales. like the generation before them. Most of the people in the generation Z don't even believe in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and all those things that we used to do, Father Christmas, Mother Christmas, and Auntie Christmas. They don't believe in them. They know they're just folk tales and myths. Yet, they tend to be lovers of outdoors. They don't believe in, you see, the funny thing with this generation is this. They love the indoors. They love their internet. They love their PC. They love their phone. They love their tablets. Yet, they tend to be lovers of outdoors too. They love outdoors, but the way they love their outdoors is not the way we love our outdoors. When we were young, our parents used to say, come in, it's 6 o'clock, come in. Now, we tend to tell them, go out, go out. Why? Because they see the world through their computer and their smartphones. They will rather sit indoors all day, being on the internet, watching cable TV, being on social media, or creating technological things. Physically, they can be timid. But when they're in their world of social media, they can be mean, violent, and bullies. They are flamboyant and can be expensive. All of us know what it takes for us to get our children smartphones, to get our children tablets, to get our children laptops. And it's now a prerequisite that they almost have at least one of these things if they want to keep in the world today. They are progressive. When they make their minds to it, they can mobilize themselves and cause harm. They can cause mayhem when they decide to mobilize themselves. We can remember the EndSARS. Most of the people that were in the EndSARS were between part of the millennials and Gen Z. Now, there's a generation that I want to talk about very briefly, because they're not starting getting preeminence, but we'll soon talk about them in the coming years, is the Generation Alpha. This generation age range is between 2012 to 2025. We'll soon start to talk about them later in life. Right now, we can call them the Gen Z Pro. Soon, they will be Pro Max. The same characteristics with the Gen Z. But we're hoping that they will be probably much more cooler than the Gen Z. Based on this definition I've given above, we can see that as parents, we have a lot to deal with in the Gen Z youth. Our approach must be liberal and less forceful. Yet, we must be firm and unshaking. And I know for some parents, it's kind of like, a two-faced of a coin. Like I said, and let me repeat, our approach must be liberal and less forceful. Yet, we must be firm and unshaken. We cannot and should not try to raise them as we were raised, or we will lose them totally. You see, the problem with the Generation Z we have today as a generation in the world today is that some of us still want to force our conservative ideas on these people. And as a result, all around the world, if you listen to the news, one demonstration or the other, they're demonstrating cultures and norms that we took as sacred. But today they are coming out. Look at Iran, for example. The women are coming out, the Gen Z women are coming out, cutting their hair, burning their scarves, and saying that enough is enough of the hijab. You cannot force us to wear this. And if you look at the TV and watch what these people are doing, and you see the age rate, you see them, mostly Gen Z. They are looking at the police and say, how many can you kill us? How many can you kill? That is the audacity of Gen Z when you put them in and add them to the world. Let me give you a short story before I continue. My cousin gave birth to his first child, who's about 17 now. And when the child was young, semi-autistic. And for those who don't know autism, the people that they don't develop speech well, and they tend to be very conservative, they don't talk. Just when you see them initially, you think that they are off. The boy didn't talk till he was 4. Brilliant boy, very brilliant. Now, when he was in primary, when he was in Form 1, a classmate bullied him. In fact, the classmate fought him, and the boy's tall, big, fought him and put his neck to the wall. My cousin came home and was telling the mother, I see what happened, blah, blah, blah. The mother said, well, okay, what do you want to do? The boy said, I want to take martial arts. I want to take karate classes. For the whole of the 2 months holiday, the boy was going for taekwondo and karate classes every day. In his mind, he was going to go back and show that boy. He was going for taekwondo classes every day. As he came back, I watched his progression. He was becoming bigger, stiffer, colder, and harder. And he had a lot of audacity. Now, when he went back to school, to GS2, went back, dropped his bag. 2 days later, the same bully came to meet him. When the bully approached him, the way he looked and posed, the bully just knew. He just said, Uncle, the guy knew that the Tegese I saw yesterday is not the Tegese today. He was ready. He said, Uncle, I was ready for him. And somehow God just told him that no fights me. Now, 2 years later, I go to visit the boy. And the father tells him, Tegese, go and iron my clothes and do blah, blah, blah. For some reason, because he was distracted with his laptop or something, he forgot. And the father now comes and was breaking like a raging bull, angry. I will deal with you, this, blah, blah, blah. The way the boy just looked at the father, I just told him, Tegese, get out of this room. The boy just shook his head and walked out. And I told the father, I said, see, you should thank God that I was here. This boy, your hand will not have reached his face. Your hand will not have reached his face. This boy is not a small boy. Talk to him. There are ways of punishing without being aggressive. The way he looked, I just knew that if the father had gone to attack this boy would have gone on defense mode. I just knew. And I had to tell him, Tegese, leave this place at once. Because as the father stood up, the boy just posed. Even the way he stood, you could see that, okay, just come. Just come. You know, this is the generation. They will fight back. If they don't fight back today, they will fight you back tomorrow. And it's better for them to even fight you back physically. If they have to fight you back financially, or they have to fight you back emotionally, you will wish you had not had them because they will just leave you. So let's be very careful when we're dealing with these people. I hear some parents say that, that no matter what, this technology thing, I don't want to. I even have some parents say that I will not make them, I want to make them available to a cell phone, a laptop, or a phone till they are 18. And I just laugh. Let me tell you something, parents, and I want you to hear this very clearly. If your child is within the range of 13 to 18, he probably knows, or she probably knows how to handle a phone very well, a laptop extremely well, a tablet very, very well. And if you do not provide for them this, or do not give them access to this, they will get it somewhere. And they will view you as a stumbling block to their process. And when the time comes, we would all regret it. Now, this is what I tell parents. Most parents that don't want to give have access to their children having access to any of these things are doing it because they are afraid and they are lazy to supervise. If you are going to give a child a phone, a laptop, or a tablet at the age of 13 to 17 years, 11 months, you must supervise that child. Every other time, you demand for the phone to go through it. You demand for the tablet to go through it. You demand for the laptop to go through it. Go through it thoroughly. And how do you go through these things? You cannot go through something you don't know how to use. You must learn to use it. One of my problems with my generation, that's the Generation Z, Generation X, is the fact that we are too lazy technologically. When it becomes too complicated, we're like, I don't want. It's too stressful. No, you must learn it. If not for anything, for the fact that these children need to know that you know, so that it can create some form of fear and responsibility in them. But when we are lazy and we are tired, and we feel like, the best way not to stress ourselves to supervise these kids is not for them to have it. It is like playing the proverbial ostrich that buries his head in the sand, thinking predators will not see it. We must make ourselves as parents and guardians very accessible to these kids. We must have technology. You see, yesterday, when the speaker spoke, that's Mommy Zina, she made a point. She said, look, you have to know technology. You have to know music. You have to know social news. These three things are very vital to this Gen Z. Very important. And you see, what brings all of them in common is their love for technology and social media. All of them. The only difference is how they are supervised. When you if you instill in them the discipline, they know the size not to go. I tell people, everybody that knows me calls me a mommy's boy. Anybody that knows me calls me a mommy's boy. And the reason why they call me a mommy's boy is because I still have healthy fear for my 79-year-old mother. When I want to do bad, even till today, I just see her face, see how she'll be disappointed, see how I will disappoint her, and I will reverse. We must inculcate that in our kids. We must make our kids love us so much that they will not want to even go down that path of hell because they love us. We must be doing over the days. They have been telling us to be mentors to our children, mentors to our teens. They must see us as the first icon in fashion, the first icon in technology, the first icon in music. We must not push what they say. You may go and say, I don't forget it. You guys are them. There's some who say they are old school. Ladies and gentlemen, I have my music collection, and I am not exaggerating. It's about 5,000 songs I have in my phone. And it's ranging from Davido to Don Moore. Even within the Christian, I'm a Christian, so for those who are not, please let me just permit me to say this. But even within the Christian music industry, we are talking of the modern Christian, we're talking of elevation music. We are talking of Christian, we're not talking of Don Moore or Ron Connelly or Michael W. Smith. Those ones I don't even relate. We are talking of the modern Christian artists. Jonathan Reynolds, the people that, so that when you are talking with them, they feel you, even with if you want to sell gospel music, you know that, okay, because when you just say Don Moore, they'll say, boring. You can say, oh, boring. My daughter loves music like me, and sometimes I have to keep up with the secular and the spiritual. And most times, I try to look for the spiritual as hip hop, so that we listen to it together and avoid the ones that swear a lot. And I always tell her, I said, see, you are a queen. Look at the Queen Elizabeth's life. She never swore. She's not loud. She was not unnecessary for her parents. You must be that queen. And you can only be that queen by the things you listen to and the things you let enter your ears. If you want to be a thug, go and listen to thug music. But if you want to be a proper, decent lady, listen to proper, decent music that can speak to your life. Whether it's secular music that can encourage you or spiritual gospel music that can elevate you. It is very important. This generation needs to be very strictly supervised, yet liberally supervised. You can see some contradiction here. Like Momizi said, you should be close enough to hear them, but far away to give them their space. So you need to supervise them spiritually, physically, mentally, psychologically. Pastor Boma said something that my mother used to do. She will wake up in the night. In my house, when I was growing up, apart from the girls' rooms that had lock, and that's because they were girls, all the other rooms in the house didn't have lock. And at night, when it's at night, my mom will see that all of us leave our doors open, not locked. She will go from room to room. She will put her hands on your head and she will kabash for at least 10 minutes. She used to do that for 6 of us constantly. She will come as you are lying in bed, she will put her hands on her head, and then you just look up with your eyes open, one eye, and just see, this one is kabashing. So most of the time I will not even answer, I will just do as I was sleeping. She will do it, go to my younger, like that. If we are both sleeping on the same bed, she will put her hands and pray with tears. That's the level we have reached with these people. We are going to fight their battles spiritually. We are going to fight their battles socially. We are going to fight their battles financially. One thing about the Gen Z that I will always tell you is, in those days, when we go and meet our parents will tell you no with Jesus' joy. When you want to have that money, I don't have it. No. You see, today, you can't use that approach for Gen Z. If they ask you for a thing, you first try to look at the logic behind that thing. Then, if you are not going to give them that thing based on, you explain to them, this is the reason why I cannot give you. Don't assume that they should know. We are the last people that used to know based on assumption. If you do not explain to a Gen Z, the Gen Z will feel you are not sensitive to them, and they'll go and find it outside. They will find it outside. And as much as possible, when you explain to them, and explain to giving them the assurance that, okay, see, when things are better, we'll see what we can do about it. They can be patient and wait for you. But when you are authoritative to them and you want to demand your rights to them in a very firm way, you cannot get with them. And that is why I'm trying to explain that I'm trying to give you the peculiarities of these youths compared with the generation before them. Now, the other day, the thing is this. This generation is all about explanation. You have to be the example you want them to be. If you set up coffee in the house and say, okay, going forward, everybody should be around by 8 o'clock. You must respect that coffee first. Because they woke up with it. It's not like in those days our father will say, I don't want anybody to be in this house before 9. And then the father is coming in 11:30. And we are like his father now, So if your kid will come to you and tell you that doesn't work, this rule cannot apply to only you. If you are going to do the rule, it's all of us will do it or none of us will do it. They will tell you, oh, if you have a rule that, like I have a rule in my house that by 8 o'clock, which I've broken already, but I'm alone now because my family is in Jos. But by 8 o'clock, all forms of pressing device is over. You are not to press device between the hours of 8. And when you go to bed by 9, if you want to enter a blanket and do that, that's your business. But you see, between the hours of 8 and 9, it's television time, it's bonding time. You sit down together, ask questions. Your phone should not be near you. At least 1 hour out of 24. Let us interact. Let us ask questions. When they are teenagers, it becomes very difficult to keep them because maybe that time they have used something, they will play and they go, how was your day? Fine. What did you do today? We went to school. How was school? Fine. They just want the time to pass. But you have to devise means of talking to them. Come on, instead of saying how, let's say, come and tell me now. What subjects do you find difficult? Math. But why is math difficult for you? So I don't know it's the teacher, but what's wrong with the teacher? Before you know it, the person he or she is giving you tips about the teacher, how the teacher will come to the class and say all of them will say, blah, blah, blah. And then you now start to tell them, okay, see you. Have self-confidence. And then, like I tell my daughter, I said, it's so ironic that for all my life, maths was something that I dreaded. Now I'm doing maths every day for the past 20 years. I'm calculating and hitting. Sometimes you have to calculate without a calculator, And I said, you don't know what the world will throw at you. Do not hate maths because you do not know. If anybody has said that I will be doing maths, they're banking for the next 20 years. Even my father in his grave will have laughed and said, not my son. But see, today, I'm hitting maths. You can multiplication, division, subtraction. Customers are going to tell you percentage rate. You are calculating it in your head. So you have to encourage them never to burn a bridge. Let them have their opportunities open. You do not know what path will come towards them. Like I said, they largely like to be in their own world, seated in their room, feeding their thoughts. Anything they want to do in this world, Google. My daughter will say, almighty Google. Google has everything. And that's what I was telling her the other day. I said, see, in those days, we used to go to a library, National Library in Jos, State Library in Jos, School Library. She was like, who needs a library? Nobody goes to the library anymore. Just give me a smartphone and a tablet and give me data. anything you want, I will get it for you. I was like, wow. So even libraries now are becoming obsolete. And that's the truth, because they have made their own library. They will not go out of their house now and say, I want to go to the library. Any child that tells you that, just know that child wants to do something stupid. The library is in their laptop. The library is in their tablet. The library is on the phone. So what do? You have to make access to it. And then the thing is this: everything they need in this world is on a smartphone. You see, this is on a laptop that I'm talking to you, and on the tablet I'm reading. From the age of 13, you should gear your mind to provide for them at least one of these. The cheapest among the three is usually a smartphone. Now, when you are providing a smartphone for a 13-year-old, you make sure that when the child, anything the child has to do online must be authorized by you. You make the child's email address. And if you go to Google, especially Google, when you're making it for a minor, they will tell you that as a parent, put your email address and put your code. So even when you give your child the phone and the child wants to access, he or she must get permission from the parent, because as you try to access, you just pop up and say Google your mother's or mother or father's password. They'll have to come to you. When they come to you, now look at us, okay, what is this about? Then they explain to you. Based on your discretion, you open it and give it to them. Because if you allow them to go to this World Wide Web, it is a jungle out there. You think that you are avoiding trouble when they sit in a room. You are happy that they're not going out. But what they have access to on their computer, on their phones, if you do not control them, is worse, 100 times worse than going out into the streets in Nigeria. From their laptop, they can see they can see how a bomb is made in Iraq. From their laptops, they can see how women are kidnapped in Uzbekistan. From their laptop, they can see a lot of things. So you have to be very careful. And then the thing is, like I tell parents, if you don't give them at home, school, we give them. Most of the schools now are doing internet, they are doing assignments on laptops. JAM, in those days, we used to read past question paper and carry Bible and paper and be shading. Now you don't do that, you have to use a laptop. So even if you don't train the kids to use these things, you have to train them for JAM. They have to know so that they will not enter the JAM center and start pressing left, right, and center. They already know. Conclusively, you have to allow these kids express themselves without being afraid. Teach them the fundamentals of respect, hard work, and manners. So that when they are expressing themselves to you, they are expressing themselves with respect and with manners. So that when they come to you, they know how to say it, when to say it, and how to put it. Because if you do not teach them those fundamentals, they will go out and misrepresent you. But they must be given the ability to express themselves within the confines of respect and manners. Once they know, they can always come to you. Be assured that 80% of your work is done. The remaining is you putting the hard work to correct them. In the end, let us remember one thing. These kids have access to a lot of information. They have access to a lot of love. They're the internet. They have access to a lot of things. And if you don't make your own culture priority, they will go and inherit the culture of the internet. They will go and inherit the culture of outside. We must be strict and decisive, yet in a very liberal way. The era of do as I say and don't ask questions, or do as I say and not as I do, or I am the father and the mother, I give that to you, and you will listen to me whether I like it or not, has passed. The era of if you don't stand there, I will slap you, has passed. The era of look at you, who do you think you are? I brought you to this world, I will take you out, has passed. It is the era of, see, this is how it's supposed to be, and this is the reason how it's supposed to be. It's the era of constructive punishment, where if you are going to discipline a child, you will not lift a finger, but the child will feel the impact of that punishment, so that when the child thinks of doing it again, the child will stop. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for listening to me. I am very happy that I had this opportunity, and I feel very privileged. And I want to wish our big Uncle Joe a happy birthday, long life, good health, plenty wealth, and joy. Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. So I was already going to
Thank you
beg
so
Uncle Joe
much, Mr.
to arrange for a quick seminar by upper week so that we'll just continue from here. I wish today wasn't the last day, because I think
I told you.
Oh, okay, this is great. Okay, while we would be taking questions, I just want to mention that we will have Mrs. Ruth Shuku Ezrim. She'll be doing a recap later, not now, later. I just want to mention that so that she'll get ready. But I know that Mr. Novian has done justice to. If we had allowed him more time, maybe he would still be talking to us. He's so passionate at it. Thank you very much, sir. You blessed us immensely this evening. Please, by put a sign of using the emoji, put up your hand if you have a question or a reaction to something he has said. I remember when he started, he said he wants to put out his thoughts, and then where he's not correct, we can reason together. So you have a question, you have a reaction. Please, can you signify by raising of hand? Hello, everyone. Mrs. Caroline, Mr. Uche, hi, Mrs. Stella, Mr. Baranzan, Mrs. Grace, Mrs. Ruth. Please, Mr. Inze, you have a question? You have a reaction? Uncle Joe, this is wow.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is wow. Okay, so I would be inviting Mrs. Ruth to just give us a recap. Just pick out a few points you think what is key for us in today's topic.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm super excited for this conference. Thank you so much, and happy birthday to our coach this number of days that we've been here. I must tell you, it's been very instructive and informative for me. I mean, parenting like Mr. Onovia started is hard work. Nobody should even deceive us. It's hard work, but it's also very. Thank you very much, Mr. Onovia. You've made very clear points towards this night. And some of my takeaway will be where you said be very liberal and also be very strict. That's a very balanced approach to dealing with the generation we're talking about. And one thing all of us as parents and parents to be or guardians must also take away this night is erasing the mentality of I'm going to parent the way I was parented. No, it won't work. We can't parent the way we were parented. I'm glad the way he took us down memory lane. You can imagine a whole the generation that has passed, how we have evolved over the years. The era where I'm sure most of us were in that era of we never questioned anything. It was just yes, we're giving the command and we go. We never even knew why we're doing some of the things we're doing, but not anymore. In this era, you have to engage them. You have to let them know why you're doing the things you're doing and why they must also do certain things they are doing. And I like to also say that it's very important that we also let them know to take responsibilities for their action. one thing I would like us to know is if you're going to raise the one that is going to be successful in this generation, you must learn to let them take responsibilities for their action. We don't shield them from things or from taking responsibility when they do things. I see some of us parents do it, and I'm not sure it's a very good approach. One thing this generation also do not like is that some of them do shy away from the consequences of their action, and it's very important that as parents that we begin to stand up and also let them take responsibilities for their action. So we must be liberal, we must be very strict, like Mr. No Viran told us this night. I'm glad I get to learn from a veteran. I remember one of the stories he shared in the chat room, and it's been a major takeaway for me. So as a way of recapping, I've dropped a few things he has said in the chat room. Sorry, can you all hear me? Please, am I being heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, are you all hearing me?
Yes, ma'am. We're hearing you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you so much, sir. It's very important. Another thing that he said that struck me is parents. If we notice during the COVID, a lot went wrong. Parents handed over their children with devices without teaching them that they are stepping onto a global stage. So what we had was like more like detonating landmines everywhere. Crime rates went very high. There was a lot of crime online. Children were exposed to media without any form of media guide, without any form of training, without any form of letting them know that, you know what, you're stepping onto global stage. And some of these children got into websites that got them into addiction and connection became to family. I let every parent know, just talk and walk your devices, you must keep, and it's not one for
Hello? Hello? Is anybody there?
Yeah.
Hello, we are here.
Okay.
I think her network, she's having some hitches because even before she went off, we weren't really hearing her. The line has been breaking, but she was already doing justice to it. I think on the point, she
I'm
was speaking
back.
on. Oh, okay. You're welcome back, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So I was saying that sorry, my network went off. Please, can you hear me? My network went off. Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming up.
Hello?
We get to hear some words and then your line keeps breaking.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yes, we
Can you
can hear
hear
you.
us? Hello.
Oh, is it any better? I'm changing positions.
Hello, ma'am. Okay, quickly, let's see if she'll be able to join us back. But before that happens, I think that, hello, ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you hear me? Okay, so we can hear you, but faintly.
Oh, maybe network. Let me change position again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay, this is better. Oh, and she's gone again.
Website.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
You're breaking, you're still breaking, ma'am. Okay, so for the sake of our time, if you can hear me, ma, for the sake of our time, we would still give you some minutes later, but want to use our time, want to move up to, we quickly want to do our book review. What a way to celebrate our coach's birthday today. Happy birthday, sir. When I heard that there was going to be a book review, I was just so excited. And we know that you are impacting, you've decided to impact us by giving us a document we can fall back to, okay? One of the key things that I know that have been said from Monday till date is the fact that parenting, for you to do well in parenting your children, you have to be intentional, you have to invest time, and you have to be what you want them to be. Means you have to lead by example. You invest time, you have to be intentional. I have seen that in Port Uko, and I know that Mr. Luca Barenzan will be doing justice to reviewing this book. And so I'll be inviting him. He has all the details. He'll tell us what the book is all about and the title and all of that. We'll still come back to you, ma'am, Mrs. Ruth. We'll still come back to you, but we'll quickly be inviting Mr. Baranzan to take up the stage and do justice to the book review.
Thank you, Mrs. Patience Buba. It's really an honor to be the one doing this book review, inspired a plethora of authors and presenters and well-equipped speakers that we've had over time. I think the little ant that I am, Uncle Joe, thank you very much for this privilege. Straight to the book. And I'm sorry, lest I forget, Mr. Onoviran, like I like to call you. I used to omit your Orimisan. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Well done, and God bless you. May God renew your strength. All right, straight to the book review. The book is 50 plus pages of book, and it's titled Engaged with a Teenager. Engaged with a Teenager. The author is no other but Uncle Joe, our great coach. Uko. The book has 5 chapters. The first chapter is titled, has a theme like how to motivate teenagers. The second chapter is learning in fun, F-U-N. And then the third chapter says building responsible teens. And chapter 4 would have us look at the asking session. That's the time when the teens ask you questions and all that, and how do you really get to go about that. And then chapter 5 is the helping session. Now, the entirety of this book, in just a summary form, is a manual for parents to help find themselves in their teenagers in order to help the teenagers find themselves for their future. Now, to the chapters, Uncle Joe did justice to the book. This is chapter 1. This is what he opened the chapter with. He says, teenagers are a set of people who are constantly on the go. Never a dull moment with them. And I would put ellipses there. It continues, but I've picked that particular part because why? That statement is a basic fact. A manual is like a document that supports or aids or enables you to find your way when in search of a thing, particularly if we were to make reference to electronics. You know, once you have the manual, you manipulate it easily. This book is a comprehensive manual, though limited in pages, but I tell you what, I think he could bring out 5 editions out of it with time, because I know he probably wanted his birthday to be memorable and remarkable, of which we celebrate you beyond bounds. This book is just so much a justice for every parent to have. I will continue. Never having a dull moment with them as long as you engage them. This particular principle, motivating the teenager, is a unique recipe that helps teen instructors or coaches to get the teenager active or jump into action, either in business, education, belief systems, politics. I would make reference to EndSARS protest, if you can remember. Largely, the persons who were victims of EndSARS are between the teenagehood and adolescents and then young adults. And when this whole call came out, let's protest in order to have this SARS trouble stop, it was largely dominated by the same set of persons. But you need to establish a relationship to enjoy such grace if you must get them to jump into being active or into having them solve problems themselves. And so if you must do that, or if you must motivate these youths, according to Joe Uko, it comes in 2 ways. It's either you work with them as a friend or you work with them as a partner, not as a tyrant or a dictator. And he puts it succinctly, involve them, because rules and regulations are stuff they look forward to. They want to learn to obey those rules and equally learn to even break them, because why? It's a moment of enlightenment for them. And teenagers, once they become teenagers, they are very inquisitive, and inquisition comes with desire or seeking knowledge. Furthermore, the book in this chapter explores resolutions like emotional bank, and he puts it fully, emotional bank account. You know, you have to know the emotional bank account of these children, and you don't just know it. What do you do with bank accounts? You make deposits and you make withdrawals. What do you deposit in it? And what do you hope to withdraw out of it? Let's put it positively on an affirmative end. If you put emotional fortunes in there that are quite positive, you are bound to yield positive emotions when it comes to time for withdrawal. You know, but when you invest or you bank or you deposit ills, you are bound to also rip out or withdraw or get out of that bank ills. Uncle Uko went ahead to say, have family hangout times, have family rules, celebrate your children's accomplishments. And another sub-theme, he said, ask them who their favorite celebrities are, and then engage them in entrepreneurship. You know, that and much more would get to help you explore these children, not just by motivating them and inspiring them, but you help them go through, because motivation is not just an end in itself, it's a process, you know. And he says, what do you know about such subjects, and how do you intend to get involved in motivating them? If you're able to answer those questions, it will enable you to understand that while you're teaching them or guiding them through those sub-themes I mentioned, entrepreneurship, emotional bank account, knowing their knowing your children, your children's accomplishments and all whatnot, will help you understand that these kids need learning more than just instructions. And that leads me to chapter 2, where he gave it a theme: learning in fun. Over time, from how much teachers who are, for those of you who are professionals, have come to research to understand that kids learn through self-indulgence, and kids also learn from what they see practically around them, and they also get to learn from voices, sounds, and then symbols and all whatnot they see. Besides the traditional chalkboard instruction, then you sit back and then any question and then the child responds back. Teachers have researched and found out that no, teaching has gone beyond that. And that's why they came up with the models that Uncle Joe shared with us. On one of those days he was speaking, he said there's a visual there's a visual teenager, there's a kinesthetic teenager, there's an auditory toner teenager, and there's also the auditory digital teenager. Understanding their perspectives help them. So the chapter 2 is speaking about learning in fun. Imagine trying to speak, relate, or teach a teenager who is so good with visual or visuals or creative stuff. He loves seeing pictures, documentaries on TV and all whatnot. And then you are trying to school this same kid using audio clips or voice notes. Take it or leave it, 1 out of 10, he would feel this is more like a straitjacket instruction. So I have to just obey this. How do I go about this? Do a swap and put the auditory one. You would see how they would both react differently to it. So the chapter 2 is encouraging us to be bold, to pick up perspectives to learning as an end and as an objective. Once you pick up the fun as an end, you already know that, okay, fine, I think when I do this, I'm going to get this child to be opened. As an objective, there is a particular focus or there's a particular goal you hope to achieve with this child. Chapter 2 goes on to say, fun occupies an integral part of learning process and it sustains the duration of learning. Fun occupies an integral part of learning process and it sustains the duration of learning. Uko, the author suggests here to parents to employ fun activities while learning, and such like music, engage them in a dance. If it's during culinary session, you can get them to play their favorite the song of their favorite celebrity. If it's a song artist, and if they love visual works or they love to display their creativity in paper or in the physical demonstration, engage them and get to see how well you will arouse their spirits. Now, delving and jumping into chapter 3, it says, building responsible teens. Imagine engaging them in all kinds of activities that would help them or enable them learn very quickly and easily, as it's mentioned in chapter 2. You already are building responsible teens. Because why? Certainly, you will not teach your child fun activity that would endanger his or her life. So it means you are teaching the child principles of becoming a responsible person to the society. You see how the author carefully chose his theme from chapter 1 to 2 and then 3, dovetailing the whole conversation and getting us to understand that while parenting is almost like an end in itself, the process is entirely a lifelong exercise. Our speaker today said, parenting is a job, and over time, most of our speakers have their own way of putting the parenting perspective. And in borrowing Sister Zeno's words, as embedded in Uncle Uko's book, Choice of Words, he said consciousness. He used deliberate, he used intention, and he used commitment. That parents must be committed. And these factors are the only ones with the 70% guarantee to raise responsible teens or teenagers. You cannot be absent-minded and expect to raise a responsible child. To corroborate these 4 factors, consciousness, being deliberate, being intentional, and staying committed towards your disposition to parenting your teens, builds responsible persons and builds persons that would bring about a change in life. However, a question I would add, though not mentioned in the text, would be, how do you get to determine your consciousness? How do you get to determine how deliberate, how intentional, and how committed you are when it is not every part of yourself as a person you know? Because the truth of the matter is we do not know all of ourselves. But Uncle Uko, in trying to enable us understand that this book as a guide will lead us to where it ought to lead us to, I borrowed I said Uncle Joe Harris' window. It's a model of communication by 2 great psychologists, Joseph Luft. He lived between 1916 and 2014, and then his friend Harrington Longham lived also between 1916 and 1995. But this theory of theirs, or model of communication of theirs, was developed in 1955. It's a great research of theirs, and it has 4 windows. One, the first window on, eventually I know many of you will get to see it. Joe Harris' window. They collected the first name, the first few alphabets of Joseph, and then the first few alphabets of Harry, and then put it together and named the model Joe Harris window. If you're able to Google that, you'll see more and you even get enlightened better. But the 4 factors they mentioned, that one, you have an open area or an arena where it's known and it's seen. The second one to the right is the blind spot. And the other one below the open area is the hidden area or the facade. And the fourth one directly beneath blind spot is the unknown. Now, how are these factors related to building responsible teens? The open area that you know of yourself, above it is written known to self. The blind spot, above it is written not known to self. It means you really do not know. In road safety, for those of you who are road marshals, especially my coach, I know, there are blind spots on the highways. Those are spots where you cannot just navigate with the speed of 100 or more. You have to slow down, decelerate, then proceed gradually so that you are able to manage in case you have a reckless driver or a crossing animal or human beings trying to go across, whatever the circumstance might be, So blind spots are dicey spots, and mostly they are not known to us. And then below directly is the unknown. Entirely, you can't even name that part of you because you can't tell what it is. Then the hidden area or the facade, that you know, but you don't want people to know that of you. By the side is written known to others. You know a bit of it, but it's largely seen by others. And on the other open area, what you see there, the open area is also known by others. So the philosophy I'm trying to bring out here that will buttress this building responsible teens is this, according to the book, is that there are parts of us that we know that are quite credible. These kids, when we display or demonstrate how we live, they learn from it. They see and they adopt and they make them their basic principles. So that time when you feel you are not even being conscious, but because you have given them words and thought they would have gone past some of them, tomorrow, if you're not careful, they will remind you of them. If in case you indulge in using swear words deliberately, like Uncle Noveran said, he stops his daughter, he gives her a mother, he says she is the queen. Not so much of the queen does he even know, but he gives her the perspective that has been created by media and all whatnot. But how much more about those of which the queen is that he doesn't know, but are embedded? See the mystery behind that. So this text, Building Responsible Teens, this particular chapter is subtly metaphysical, but also exponentially empirical, so much so that it gets to see you understand that that part of you that must be displayed consciously must also be guided. While you're being conscious, there are sometimes you're angry and you want to build great teens. You don't have to, in anger, react to a thing and expect them to take the correction. While you're being deliberate in expressing yourself, haven't been irked or angered by these kids or these teens, you also have to evaluate how you put it across. That's how Uncle Uko is dragging our attention to understand all of this. And you see, this model helps us to understand that in discussing with these children or in talking with these teenagers, it enables them to inculcate, and deliberately keep what you have taught them. His sub-themes puts us to understand this chapter in this perspective. If they are used to reading and suddenly at some point they stop, maybe because you had few challenges and all whatnot, the sub-theme says revisit reading. What do you read? What are the texts you study? Another sub-theme says seeing good movies at home with family. What are the kinds of contents you see? Making music amidst other stuff are recommendations also in the book. It says, in doing that, you build responsible teens. But what do you know and how can you go about it? The use of time and results is a great emphasis in this text, as the author further highlights areas that would empower your teens or teenagers to adequately shun crime and undue time wastage, thereby indulging in those memorable activities you would have given them the reason or the time to indulge in order to become responsible teens. And this jumps or takes us into chapter 4, where it says, the asking session. And now a little return. Imagine making these kids not grow or not learn the adequate principles for becoming responsible kids. You certainly know they will not leave you without being questioned. They will ask questions. What if you teach them prostitution? What if you teach them how to go do cybercrime? What if you teach them how to be nuisance to the community? You can't escape this part of the chapter 4 and see how Uncle Joe subtly puts it again. Every parent or even singles would nod on the affirmative that this is quite a feature of every child. But with the teenagers, it is taken to the next level entirely. How? You give them the room to ask questions because you've created liberty inspired being stern. You teach them the wrong models, they will leave it invariably. As such, teach them the right thing so that when they ask you, you explain better and you direct them accordingly on how to go about it. I would add to that according Pascal Blaise, a philosopher, psychologist, a religious author, and a Catholic theologian, who suggests, alongside Sigmund Freud, who suggests that in every human being, there are 3 stages. For Sigmund Freud, it's the id, the ego, and the superego. For Pascal Blaise is the religious stage, and then the older age. I've forgotten the third one, but I'll use Sigmund Freud particularly to make reference in order to buttress that point. The id is like the infant age, the age of a toddler, and all of that, where they're just there, they go about their normal life. And then the age of the ego, that's the age and the era of the teenagers. They feel they know their left from their right. Of a truth, they really do not know. What will enable your teenagers know their left from their right? In this book, Asking the Question session shows you, guide, and directs you on how to go about enlightening them adequately to understand that this is right and that is wrong. If they don't get to ask you that question, then there is more to those children that you do not know than meets the eye. As such, the book suggests in many ways that this age is an age of abundant knowledge or an age of knowledge overflow, which makes them feel empowered and it makes them feel entitled, claiming to know their left from their right. But with you constantly engaging them, you would know adequately how to put them back on track by what he titled the book, by how he titled the book. He said, by engaging with the teen. And except you engage the teen, you cannot even be able to answer these questions, let alone help them find a result. As such, the book indulges all of us to be conscious when we engage with them. Because why? If we're able to know our environment and how it concerns us as individuals, it enables us to answer the questions of these teenagers without wondering why they're asking such questions. For instance, LGBTQ+, it's an evolutionary orientation, sexual orientation. And it comes up every day with all kinds of notions where people do all kinds of stuff, especially the transgender. Sometimes I have a conversation with people and they say those people are a set of confused people. You're a man and suddenly you want to be a woman, you change your genitals or you go ahead and have surgeries and all that. And then you're trying to also behave like a man at the same time. What is it you really want? Your kid sees that and someone says in a movie, for instance, don't worry, eventually when you become 18, I will give you the right and privilege to be able to choose. This kid comes back to you to say, Mom, I was seeing a movie and then I experienced a transgender being part of the storyline. And this is what the father told the child. Do you think when I grow up and become 18, or at this age, being 18, I have the liberty to choose my sexuality? First of all, if you're not conversant with self-development and contemporary developments, I bet to let you know that you would be lost, first of all, and you will not have an appropriate answer for these teens. But this book is recommending that we stay accustomed constantly with orientations and developments as regards how we groom our children in order to become the best that they would be. Now, the chapter 5 says the helping session. Once you are familiar with your surroundings, once you're familiar with the temperaments of these children, once you're familiar with everyday developments, once you're familiar with the basic principles or the adequate principles that guides or that helps a child to grow rightly, in this particular chapter, in this particular point, or in the stage of the child's life, you would not lose out entirely. Because why? If the child hits a break, maybe because of disobedience, remember in chapter 3, there are rules and there are regulations, and they enjoy exploring them, either to break them or to obey them. So imagine they falter at that point. They will come asking questions, Mom, Dad, how do I resolve this issue? The guide is saying the helping session, which is chapter 5, says, this phase of life in the teenager's life is the stage of decision making. If the child is able to decide to say, yes, I want to go ask a question, it means there has been a union and there has been a relationship and that you have been following. It's okay, darling. I'm on Zoom actually. Sorry, you've not done anything wrong. Sorry. So oh, Jesus.
I actually wish that Mr. Luca is rounding up the book review.
Yes, I am wrapping up right away with the chapter 5. So if you're able to allow these children get through the process of understanding how to become responsible from the chapter 1 that says motivating them with the necessary ingredients of life, when you get to this stage, the stage where you help them understand that yes, their decisions or the decisions they are making is right or wrong, it comforts them, and it does not send them out to the streets where devourers are waiting to end their own lives or disengage them from the process which you're trying to enlighten them. So in conclusion, amidst the awesomeness of the text and the laws and the teachings, Uncle Uko has been able to put basic principles that would enable us parents to understand how well parenting is not just being a father, giving birth to children, or it's not all about procreation, but it's about being involved and also engaging these teenagers to be better versions of ourselves and themselves for the future, even when we are not there. Thank you very much. And I am glad that I got some time of audience from you all, and the privilege also to have been the one to do this book review. Please, very quickly, speak with the author and see how well you can be able to pick a copy of yours, because why? It is $1 million encyclopedia for parenting. You would learn a skill. Thank you, and happy birthday, Uncle Joe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luca. Thank you. We're grateful. Sorry, I had to ask that you wrap up because of our time. I don't know how to express how grateful we are to be blessed through the conference. I was imagining if this conference was to be planned somewhere in Abuja or in Kaduna or in Lagos, and then we all had to fly or travel by road, and then we had to book accommodation and feed ourselves and all of that. Even if it was free, I can bet that you would know how much your pockets will be losing. But you see, this was brought to us free of charge. I am so happy that for all of us that were able to allow for themselves to be blessed and to learn during this conference. Shortly, I'll be bringing up Mr. Oko, but I want to say that we are so blessed that you have made this a duty to bless us, to impact humanity in the way that you're doing, and the great work God is using you to do in the lives of our teenagers and our children. We can do our best to encourage Mr. Joe by allowing that we become part of this journey and picking up a copy of this book that will show bless us and bless our friends and our family members and our children. So at this point, permit me to invite the celebrant, our birthday coach, Mr. Joe Uko, to take over from here. You're welcome, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Sister Patience. Honestly, I have to, I don't know where to start, but I deeply appreciate every one of us for having put up with this conference from the beginning to the end. The planning wasn't easy, the technical team and everyone that was involved. Thank you so much. And for all of us that have stayed put, Mr. Noviran, thank you so much. I know how busy you have been. Even to get you to do the forward to the book wasn't easy because you're busy. It wasn't easy because of your schedule. Thank you so much. You've been with us from the beginning to the end. Mr. Baranza Luca, you've been an amazing person. Sister Patience, Sister Ruth is gone. Sister Stella, Crepi, Uche, everyone that has been in attendance. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. The work we have to do in the lives of the teenagers and our children is more of an investment. When you think about what sacrifices, what inconveniences you have to pass through, just remember that there is a seed time and there is harvest. There's a seed time and there is harvest. You're sowing a seed now. God decides the harvest. Thank you so much for all the sacrifices. The book is on Amazon. It's already published on Amazon. It's $4.4 for a copy. But for my birthday, I'll be giving it away for a copy. I'll give out a soft copy for 1,000 naira just for my birthday within the next 48 hours. If you make payment, if you get to the chat room, my account details will be dropped there. you make payment and then you send evidence of payment to me, and then you get a soft copy of the book. Once again, thank you so much. It's been an awesome time. It's been an awesome time. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Sister
Very
Patience?
much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Happy birthday. We pray that the Lord will give you long life. And Mrs. Ruth was actually supposed to still wrap up. She's not here, but I can see that Mr. Kelechi is here. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
still here.
I wanted to just shift the button to your husband. Like that was just what I was planning to do.
Oh,
And
he's not
then
close,
you're
but I'm
back here.
actually the
So.
one on his phone.
Oh, okay. So would allow for you to do that. And when you're done, you would do us well to equally say the closing prayer. You close this conference with a prayer, and I would love that you pray blessings on Mr. Uko, especially that today is his birthday. So
All
can
right.
you just wrap it up and then
It's
we are
been a
good.
successful conference, and we thank God. Thank you also, everyone, for staying put, even though it seems like we dragged today because it's the closing day. And on a closing note, I'd like to say again, every one of us, let it not just end with us, anywhere around you. Let parents know what's going on. Invite more people and get them committed. We are not training our children in our bedroom. They are going to go out there to meet other children. So when we think we've done our part to their children, remember that they are going to meet other children. So the best thing we can do is to get more parents in to learn how to deal with their teenagers, so that when our teenagers are meeting their teenagers, they're all on the same page. So it doesn't look like we've done a lot of work, and some parents are probably just thinking, is it not just to raise children? It doesn't have a formula, and they water down our effort, but that shall not be our portion. And Uncle Joe, thank you so much for all the effort in getting this running thus far. We know that from here we are going up all the way. And to us parents, I'll leave us with one word. No matter what it is, connect with your teenager. Connect, connect, connect. Find the connection tool that works for you and connect. Remember, you must connect with them. You must be at the same level with them for you to connect with them. Thank you so very much. Mr. Novir, I think I'm coming for extra coach because I've seen you're already a veteran in this thing. I'll come and learn more from you. Thank you so much, sir, and everyone. And happy birthday and double celebration to Uncle Joe for this milestone. And on that note, I'll just say a closing prayer. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Father, we thank you. We glorify your name. We're so grateful for all you've done for us. Thank you for thus far you've led us. Thank you for the success of this conference. Thank you for the impact. We thank you for every participant and the impact they will also take away to make in their own world, in their lives of their teenagers and other teenagers that will come across. And we are praying for Uncle Joe. We ask, oh God, that the vision you've given him will keep getting clearer. It will keep expanding it. His knowledge, his wealth of knowledge will bless nations of the earth. It will bless parents. It will bless teenagers. And in turn, bless his own family in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Lord, we ask, oh God, that this parenting parliament will become a platform where great nations will be revamped, where we'll all come to unlearn, relearn, and learn better way of reaching the hearts, parenting the hearts of our teenagers, of our children, and above all, reparenting ourselves. Thank you, Father. Everyone that has helped in making this happen, Lord, we ask, oh God, that every vision in their hearts will continue to be expanded, strength to carry on with the assignment you've given everyone, which the greatest of them is parenting. We thank you, Father, and we dedicate the book to the use of humanity, that it will bless parents. It will teach parents how to parent better, that this book will go to corners of the world, that in nations of the earth, this book will be used to the glory of your name. Thank you, mighty Father. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
It was a pleasure knowing and meeting all of
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you
We
so
are
much.
waiting for the next conference.
You.
We're anticipating.
Thank you, Auntie Stella. Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Nobera.
It
And
was
for
nice having
any
you
of our
around. Thank
resource
you.
Thank you,
persons,
Auntie
God bless you.
Patience.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr.
Thank
Noveran,
Thank
I'm
you,
coming for
Caroline.
tutelage. I'm coming for more training.
Thank you, Mr.
Sir.
Luca.
Okay,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Martinez. All
Let's
right,
keep
bye,
talking on the
It
chat
everyone.
room.
was
God
amazing.
bless
Thank
you,
you
sir.
so much.
Thank you.
Amen, sir. Thank
I
you
can
so much.
imagine, sir. Thank you. It was really amazing, sir.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Joe,
God
please
bless you,
God
drink
bless
sir.
you,
We really
sir.
bottled water.
appreciate you.
I will pay. Happy birthday.
Thanks, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Sister Stella,
Bye.
thank
you,
you.
sir.
God bless you.
Bye.
God bless you, sir. I appreciate every one of
Good
us.
night.
God bless
God
you.
bless you all.
Bye.
Happy
Right,
birthday again, sir.
all
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you so much. All right. So follow up on our WhatsApp group. The details are there. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
You too, please. Good night.
Brother, Mr. Richard. Mr. Richard, are you there?
I am here, boss.
Okay, thank you so much. Tech guys are like MCs in a wedding. When you go for a wedding, MC, if you're not careful, in those days that we used to MC, or not current day MCs, in those days, you just discover that